A minute. Just, yes. Okay. Okay. Welcome back, you all. Today's topic of our discussion from this chapter of Bryophytes is classification of Bryophytes. As per your syllabus, we have to discuss classification of Bryophytes proposed by scientist G.M. Smith in 1955. So we'll discuss that in brief. Well, the division Bryophyta is divided by G.M. Smith. He divided division into three classes. You can see here like Hepatici or Hepatici, also called as Hepatici or Hepatici, pronunciation may be different. Anthoceroti or Anthoceroti in UK English, it is Anthoceroti. In American, it is Anthoceroti. So pronunciation can be different, right? Masai or Masi. So for the sake of our convenience, we will call them as class 1 Hepatici, class 2 Anthoceroti, and class 3 Masai. Okay, so this is the division Bryophyta. When the term ends with the word phyta, it refers that taxon is the division. So according to ICBN, International Code of Botanical Nomenclature, the name of the division of plants should always end with phyta. So here it is ending with phyta. So Bryophyta is division. Okay, so that is as per the rules of ICBN, International Code of Botanical Nomenclature. And this ICBN in 1959 also suggested that the names of the classes of Bryophytes should also end with another term or another word, that is Opsida. Opsida, Opsida, Opsida. So here you can see Hepatici or Anthoceroti or Masai, they are not ending with Opsida. Therefore, the alternative names for these classes are also given as per ICBN rules, and accordingly, this class you can see here, the class Hepatici is then also called as Hepaticopsida, Hepaticopsida, Hepatici, Hepaticopsida, Opsida, Opsida. Then Anthoceroti as Anthocerotopsida, Anthocerotopsida, Anthoceroti or Anthocerotopsida, and Masai as Bryopsida. So Hepatici, Hepaticopsida, Anthoceroti, class Anthoceroti is also called as Anthocerotopsida, and class Masai, the third class of Bryophytes, is also known as Bryopsida. According to International Code of Botanical Nomenclature, the suffix opsida is added to the names of the classes of Bryophytes. Now you can see these three classes, Hepatici, Anthoceroti, and Masai, are also having some common names. They are commonly called, you can see, Hepatici is commonly called as liverworts. This term is derived from the Latin word hepatic. Hepatic means liver. As the plants belonging to the first class of Bryophytes look like the liver of animals, so they are called as liverworts. Hepatici are also called as liverworts plants, liverworts Bryophyte. Similarly, Anthoceroti are called as hornworts. You can see here, hornworts, because their sporophyte look like the horns of animals, the horns of cows and buffaloes. They look like horns. Therefore, these plants are commonly called as hornworts. Hepatici, liverworts, Anthoceroti are called as hornworts. And similarly, the third class, that is Masai or Bryopsida, are also commonly known as mosses. They are called as mosses. Liverworts, the first class, hornworts, second class of Bryophytes, and mosses, the third class. Hepatici, Anthoceroti, and Masai, also called as Hepaticopsida, Anthocerotopsida, and Bryopsida. So we'll see the general characters or salient features of all these three classes one by one. So we'll take the first. Before that, you can see here the first class, Hepatici or Hepaticopsida, commonly called as liverworts, and the plants look like somewhat these. So see here. So see this is Riccia species. You can see this plant, which is a flat plant, dorsiventrally flattened plant, and you can see the shape of this plant. It looks like the liver of animals. So these plants are called as liverworts. So image credit is given. I have taken these images from the internet. Creative Commons license is there. All the images are similar to that. So this is the example of the plants belonging in the first class, Hepaticea or Hepaticopsida or liverworts. Okay. Second class is Anthoceroti or Anthocerotopsida, hornworts. You can see how the plants look like. You see here. Can you see here horns? These plants are having sporophytes which look like the horns of animals. Here the dorsiventrally flattened body is there, and these are sporophytes arising from, and therefore the plants look like hornworts, and therefore they are called as hornworts. Okay. And here the third class, Bryopsida, mosses. You can see in the moss plant how it looks like. So see here, this is moss plant. You can see here, this is a plant which is not dorsiventrally flattened, but it is erect, upright, having here stem-like central axis, leaf-like structures, and root-like rhizoids. And this plant body is called as the gametophyte. The vegetative plant body is called as gametophyte. And from this gametophyte, this another structure has arisen, and this is called as the sporophyte. You can see here, the basic part of the sporophyte is embedded inside the gametophyte, inside the plant body, to derive the food material, water. And this is a long elongated structure. This is called as the seta, and this portion is called as capsule. And you can see at the very tip of the capsule, there is a lead-like structure, which is called as the operculum or lead, which opens to release the spores which are present inside this capsule. So this capsule is the spore bag. So this structure is called as the sporophyte, and this is called as gametophyte. This is gametophytic plant body. This is sporophytic plant body, and the sporophyte is dependent on gametophyte, and there is alternation of generation of gametophyte with the sporophyte that we have studied in the previous classes. So this is the general structure of moss plant, mosses, the third class of bryophytes. Okay, so we'll take the characters one by one. So see the first class, Hepaticea or Hepaticopsida, commonly called as liverworts because the plants look like liver. So first character, the vegetative plant body. Here in this class, the vegetative plant body may be thalloid, dorsiventrally flattened, flat plant body. So it is having dorsal and ventral surface. It is prostrate on the surface. It is prostrate on the soil. So that dorsiventrally flattened, prostrate plant body, which looks like the thallus of algae, is called as thalloid. So such a plant body may be present in this class. For example, Riccia, Mercantia, or it may be foliose. It may be leaf-like, or it may be slightly differentiated, erect, upright plant body. So this is found in some advanced forms of Hepaticea, whereas thalloid plant body is found in the primitive forms of Hepaticea, the first class. You can see here, rhizoids are present on the ventral surface of the thallus. There are two surfaces, dorsal surface, that is upper surface, and ventral surface, lower surface of the plant body, which is thallus, without root, stem, and leaves. So such a thalloid plant body has rhizoids, root-like structure for fixation and absorption, and rhizoids are always unicellular, unbranched in case of Hepaticea. They are of two types, smooth-walled rhizoids and tuberculate rhizoids. Smooth-walled rhizoids have their cell walls very smooth, whereas in case of tuberculate rhizoids, inner cell walls are impregnated, or they are folded inwards to form some peg-like structures to obtain minerals by capillary action. So function of both smooth-walled and tuberculate rhizoids is fixation as well as absorption from the soil or substrate. So rhizoids, rhiza means roots, oids means like. These are root-like structures present on the ventral surface of the plant body of Hepaticea members. Scales. So these are multicellular structures. These are also present on the ventral surface of the plant body, and they are meant for the protection of the plant body. So presence of rhizoids and scales on the plant body is a characteristic feature of class Hepaticea or Hepaticopsida. When we see the internal structure, when we take TS, transverse section of the plant body, then we can see their tissue differentiation. That means we can see two distinct regions, upper region called as photosynthetic region, which consists of green cells due to presence of chloroplast. They are photosynthetic, whereas the lower region is called as storage region, which consists of some parenchymatous cells. And these and the function of this region is storage of food material. So whatever food material is prepared by photosynthesis in the upper region, photosynthetic region, it is transported in the lower region, ventral region, for storage. So there is clear-cut tissue differentiation. So here chloroplast is present in the upper region, in the cells of upper region, but it is without paranoids, because the function of paranoids, which are proteinaceous bodies containing starch, their function is storage. And as there is a separate region for the storage of food material, there is no need for paranoids in the chloroplast of these cells. So the characteristic feature of Hepaticea plant is that chloroplast is present, but it is without paranoids. Paranoids are absent in the chloroplast of the green cells. Sex organs are present on the dorsal surface. On the ventral surface, there are rhizoids and scales. And on the dorsal surface, in the middle portion, the sex organs are present on the thallus. And they are either superficial or they are embedded deep inside the thallus tissue. But the fact is that sex organs are always present on the dorsal surface of thallus. And as the sex organs, that is male sex organ called as antheridium and female sex organ known as archegonium, these sex organs or gametangia are present on the plant body itself. Therefore, plant body is called as the gametophyte. It is gametangia bearing plant body. It is gamete producing plant body, and therefore it is called as the gametophyte. The vegetative plant body of bryophyte is called as gametophyte because it bears sex organs, and the sex organs are present on the dorsal surface of dorsiventrally flattened thallus of Hepaticea members. Okay, Sporophyte we have studied, which is also called as Sporogonium, which it consists of three distinct regions. Sporophyte is a structure very similar to the gametophyte, the plant body, which is thallus-like. Here also it is structure very similar to the plant body, Sporophyte, but it is without root, stem, or leaves. What it consists of? It consists of, instead of roots, stem, and leaves, it consists of foot, seta, and capsule. Foot is the basal region which functions like that of the roots, whereas seta is meant for conduction, so it can function like that of the stem, and capsule can function like that of the leaves and for reproduction purpose. For example, capsule is a fertile region which consists of spores for reproduction. So Sporophyte here may consist of these three distinct regions, foot, seta, and capsule, or it may be simple in some primitive Hepaticea member like Rixia, where there is only capsule. Foot and seta are absent in Rixia, whereas in Mercantia, another example of Hepaticea, foot, seta, and capsule are present in the Sporophyte or Sporogonium. Okay. Next character, Sporophyte. Here in this class, Sporophyte is completely dependent upon gametophyte. That is, Sporophyte is completely or totally dependent on the plant body, morphologically as well as physiologically. Morphologically means for support, it is dependent on the plant body, and physiologically means for physiological function like photosynthesis, preparation of food material, absorption. So it cannot prepare its own food material due to absence of chloroplast, chlorophyll. Therefore, it has to depend on the plant body for physiological functions also. So it is totally dependent. Sporophyte is totally dependent upon the gametophyte or plant body in case of Hepaticea members. Next is sporogenous tissue. Sporogenous, genus means producing. Tissue which is producing spores is called as sporogenous tissue. Okay, this sporogenous tissue consists of spore mother cells, and these spore mother cells by meiosis, reductional division, produces haploid spores, and that we have studied. So this sporogenous tissue is also called as archesporium. This is the first generation cells of sporogenous tissue is called as archesporium. And what is the origin of archesporium? From where archesporium is originated? Then that is another distinguishing feature of these different classes of Bryophyta. So here you remember in this class, Hepaticea, the archesporium or sporogenous tissue originates from the endothecium region of the embryo. Now, what is that endothecium region and how that origin takes place, that we are going to discuss later. After a few slides, we will discuss that. But for instance, at this stage, you just keep it in mind that archesporium in Hepaticea originates from endothecium, which is the inner region of embryo, whereas the outer region of embryo is called as amphithecium. So here the archesporium originates not from the amphithecium, but it originates from the endothecium region of the embryo. And here, see here, there are two regions, central region called as endothecium and outer region called as amphithecium. And here archesporium originates from endothecium. And as archesporium originates from endothecium, there is absence of columella, which is a sterile structure usually present at the central region of the capsule. So here at the central region, there is archesporium, spore producing cell. So there is no columella in class Hepaticea, and therefore here the characteristic feature of this class is that columella is absent in capsule because the central region consists of endothecium, and this endothecium produces the sporogenous tissue, and this sporogenous tissue produces the spores. Okay. See here, the spores, the sporogenous tissue here usually consists of two different types of cells, spore mother cells and elater mother cells. Spore mother cells produce spores, haploid spores, fertile, whereas elater mother cells produce elaters. They are not fertile, they are sterile. They are meant for producing, initially they are nerve cells, they produce food material, nutrition for the developing spores, but later as they are hygroscopic in nature, elaters, they help in the dispersal mechanism. So elaters are mostly present in some plants like Mercantia. In case of Riccia, elaters are absent. Okay, dehiscence may be irregular or irregular. How the sporangium breaks open to release spores. And examples are Riccia, Mercantia plants, Speleoporia. Many examples are there, but you can at least remember two examples, Riccia, Mercantia. So you see here, this is Riccia plant, dorsiventrally flattened plant body, Riccia. This is another plant called as Mercantia from Hepaticea. Okay. Second class is Anthocerotopsida. Plant body similar, thalloid, dorsiventrally flattened, just like the first case. Here rhizoids are unicellular, unbranched, same, except that only smooth-walled rhizoids are present. Tuberculate rhizoids are absent. Similarly, scales are absent in this class. There is no tissue differentiation. There is no separate photosynthetic and storage region. All cells are alike. All cells are similar. All cells are green. All cells consist of chloroplast. And as there is no separate region for storage, the chloroplast consists of pyrenoids. So pyrenoids are present in this class. In the previous class, pyrenoids were absent. Here sex organs are embedded in the thallus on the dorsal surface. In the previous class, we studied that they may be superficial or embedded. Here, sporophyte, it consists of not foot, seta, and capsule, but it consists of foot, meristematic region, and capsule. Seta is absent. Seta is replaced by some meristematic region. And due to this meristematic activity, it produces a long, elongated, and sudden sporophytes, and therefore these plants look like horns, or they are commonly called as hornworts, because the sporophytes look like horns of the animals. Okay, sporophyte, it is here. Sporophyte, as it is having chloroplast, it can photosynthesize, therefore it is partly dependent upon gametophyte. It is morphologically dependent on the gametophyte, but physiologically it is self-sufficient, so it is partly dependent. Here archesporium, which is the inner, it is produced from the amphithecium. In the previous class, archesporium is produced from the endothecium. Here it is produced from amphithecium, but amphithecium produces the capsule wall. So here outer layer of the amphithecium produces capsule wall, whereas the innermost layer produces amphithecium. Okay, therefore columella is present at the very center, which is formed from endothecium. Pseudo-elaters are there because elaters are also present here, but they are without any spiral thickenings. Their origin is different, though structure and function is same, so they are called as pseudo-elaters. Dehiscence may be irregular or regular by means of wall, and examples of Anthoceros, Megaceros, Notothylus. These are the examples. Okay, so see, you can see here, Anthoceros, hornwort, Anthoceros, Anthoceroti. Here, in case of third class, Bryopsida, the plant body may be having two stages. Young plant body can be thalloid, protonema, old can be long, it may be foliose or leafy with stem-like. leaf-like, root-like structure, erect, upright plant body. Rhizoids are multicellular and branched. Their rhizoids were unicellular, unbranched. Here, scales are totally absent. Anatomy, the central stem-like structure consists of central conducting strand surrounded by cortex. Though conducting strand is there, xylem and phloem are absent, and here conducting strand consists of very reduced or very primitive conducting structures. Sex organs are always apical or terminal on the main axis or branches of adult plant. Sporophyte is always with foot, seta, and capsule. And here also sporophyte partly dependent upon gametophyte. Here, archesporium develops from the outermost layer of endothecium. So columella is present here also, which develops from the inner layer of endothecium. Elaters are totally absent. Dehiscence takes place by means of separation of lead or operculum. And examples are main sphagnum, finaria, polytrichum, pogonatum. You can see here. So you can see here. This is pogonatum plant. So root-like structure, stem-like central axis, leaves, and this structure is called as gametophyte. And here there is foot. This is seta, and this is capsule. So this structure is called as sporophyte, and this is gametophyte. This is gametophyte, plant body, and this is sporophyte. This plant is called as pogonatum species. Whereas this is another plant, moss plant. You can see here, seta, capsule, gametophyte, and this is called as Bryophyte plant. So this is what we have studied. It can be put in comparative form: Hepaticopsida, Anthocerotopsida, Masai. Okay. So this is the one what we studied in the previous classes. The important point, fertilization results in zygote formation. Zygote gives rise to embryo, and embryo produces sporophyte. Zygote, you can see here. Zygote is a product of male and female gamete. So this zygote is unicellular, uninucleate diploid structure. It produces multicellular structure called as embryo. And this embryo, then during its development, produces by periclinal division the central mass of cells. And this central mass is called as endothecium, and this peripheral layer is called as amphithecium. You can see this is young sporogonium developing into sporophyte. So what happens here? So this is amphithecium. You can see. Okay. What happens in the first class? See here. So this is the condition in liverworts. Endothecium develops, the central region develops into archesporium, spore producing cell, whereas amphithecium develops into capsule wall. And in the second class, hornworts, let us see what happens. Amphithecium is multi-layered. You can see amphithecium, young sporogonium, and you can see the difference. Just a minute. Okay, see here. In second class, endothecium develops into columella, sterile structure at the very center. Amphithecium produces capsule wall. The outer layer of amphithecium gives rise to capsule wall, but the innermost layer of amphithecium produces archesporium. You can see here. And see what happens in the third case. Just a minute. Here also amphithecium is multi-layered. Okay, see here. Okay, we are running some short of time. Therefore, you can see. So see here. You can see. Can you see here? The innermost layer of endothecium gives rise to archesporium, whereas outer amphithecium gives rise to capsule wall, and columella is produced from the central region of endothecium. So that is the difference. So this is the classification. You can put it. So these are some of the references. Okay, thank you. Okay, if you have any questions, you can ask. From these slides, are you having any questions? Yes, Akshay, unmute yourself and ask the question. Anyone? Any question? Okay, I know I went some fast because we are lacking some shortage of time due to less time. I quickly briefed it. So no question? Okay, as usual, if you are having any question, you can email me. Email address is given at the very first, in the very first slide, as well as you can post it on the WhatsApp group, or you can post me personally. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much for kind listening. Thank you. Bye.